Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first game of the best of three finals for the League of Legends Amateur Open Week 8. So this is our first game of the best of three. We do have 40-ounce bounce versus Russ's looking for a date on the purple side.
Yeah, Slouch, this is going to be a game of pretty epic proportions, and we see the bans coming out instantly for Lux, Vi, Shen, and Blitzcrank. Very interesting.
Yeah, a Syndrome ban also being picked up here, and still waiting on the last ban from Russ's looking for a date. So pretty standard bans that have come out so far from 40-ounce bounce, really targeted towards that towards Mikey especially. Thresh being insta-locked after the Ahri has been banned out, so that's mostly targeted towards Peas, and Big Sean instantly locking in that Thresh.
Yeah, Kraylol, I think, has been pretty uncontested with the Vi, so it's really interesting to see what he'll pick up this time. Lux, of course, being the first pick, and Syndra being the second of Plushy Mikey. And we see a Vayne Nami bot lane. Very flexible, very interesting.
Yeah, can definitely play in a lot of different styles. They can play really passively and just farm out, or they can even play extremely aggressively. Nami is really a defining support in terms of bottom lane, really knowing when to trade and stuff. So really just going to depend on how Frosty wants to play this lane out. So yeah, they did leave Nocturne open, and Smoother Chris is now hovering over that Nocturne. So see if he decides to lock that with it.
Instant. Good call. Yeah, these picks are really not betraying anything that either of these teams are planning so far. Nothing extremely out of the ordinary, nothing that's specialized or any specific phase of the game. We see Jeffrey Ham picking up a Malphite. So now, I think that Russ is looking for a date is going to have to be careful about who they pick for top.
Yeah, they do have to be careful. Now, they have a really strong initiation comp coming out here from 40-ounce bound. So far, all three of those champions are just really strong initiators overall. So you kind of see what they're kind of going for here, not 100% what exactly the comp is going towards here. Spy Wombat deciding to pick up that Cho'Gath that was played last game as well. So pretty decent choice. Doesn't scale. It doesn't have to really use any AD. So Malphite isn't really gonna have a super easy lane against him because Malphite does stack that armor. Kraylol looking like he's hovering over this Nunu jungle. Not too sure what he's deciding to do yet. He does lock that in, so we do have a Nunu jungle this game.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to note that of the three initiations we see on the side of 40-ounce bounce, Nami's ult doesn't stop any of the three. And with that Orianna pick, it's going to be an Ori Malphite combo with a huge Wombo combo coming in, and they're going to look for those team fights. They're going to really want to try to push in those lanes and get those towers and just wipe an ace.
Yeah, they do definitely have this kind of initiation dive composition coming out here. So we got the Malphite, we got the Nocturne, and we got the Orianna that can just combo in with the ultimates. And we have the Thresh who can start off the fight if need be with a Death Sentence comboed into the box. So yeah, really it's kind of a team really just focused on forcing initiations whenever it's good for them, and then locking down teams for a long enough period of time that really there can't be any retaliation if the ultimates are landed properly. But yeah, if Russ is looking for a date, can keep their key members out of the fray, just get the tanks to absorb the damage, then the fights will definitely go on their way. They do have that Vayne, and if Vayne can get a couple kills early or just farm out really well, it will be really good for them.
And we see that before, Russ LFD has always picked really heavy damage and dive comps, but this time they're edging out more towards the counter initiation and the peel. Hado, though, looking to pick that mid for Plushy Mikey. We'll see what he does. It's going to be versus an Orianna, and it's going to be versus a Wombo Combo teamfight team.
Yeah, kind of interesting. Hado just hovering over that Fizz right now, so a little bit of an interesting pick if they do decide to go it. I'm not too sure. It doesn't really seem to fit into their composition all that well. I mean, other than the underwater thing, with Nami, but no. He does switch over to Morgana, makes a little bit more sense with the composition. So,
right, and that'll be the team fight anti-initiation that they want.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to point out, is that they have this kind of, it's okay if you dive into us kind of composition. They have that Morgana, so if the enemy team decides to dive in, she can just turn on Soul Shackles, pop Azanias, and then we have this tanky front line. We got the Cho'Gath, sorry, excuse me, and we have a Nunu. So really, it makes it just really hard to get into that back line. So a lot of it really is just going to be if Hado should be playing AD carry. I don't know if they're swapping yet, but if Hado doesn't get hit by anything on Vayne, if he maintains his positioning, he waits for some of those ultimates to being burnt so that he can come in safely knowing that they can't focus him because skills are on cooldown, then they can clean these fights up easily. But if he gets caught out in these fights, then it will be devastating.
And it's really interesting. I really like this Nocturne pick now because with Orianna and Malphite, you want to spread your team out. But if Nocturne ults and you can't see the rest of your team, you're suddenly forced to just group together again. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do and when they do it between Smoothicris and Leighton on those picks.
Yeah, so looks like Plushy Mikey is actually going to be playing AD carry this game. So that's a little bit interesting. They are switching up their roster a little bit. So Plushy will be going on to that vein. Hadu switching over to the mid lane now, playing that Morgana. So yeah, a little bit of a lane swap or role swap here in terms of the team composition.
And that Lux Syndra ban looks like it's just done too much to his champion pool because he's been banned out. Hopefully, this will be a very mind-gamey game because these two, although they've played each other before, just today actually, they haven't played with these champions and these players in these roles, and it's going to be a fresh take, that's for sure.
Yeah, so it's going to be, I don't know, both of these teams got these just really interesting way of team fighting. And so we kind of have this dive composition coming out from 40 ounce bounce, and we just kind of have this counter initiation that can come out from Russ. And it's just like both of these teams seem really oriented towards getting to that late game and playing those team fights properly. So I'm not too sure what we're going to see in the early game. Definitely the early game can define how the late game goes based on if somebody gets too ahead. But overall, it's just really going to come down to which team has the better team fight mechanics.
Yeah, and you talk about early game. If Thresh lands a hook, that's going to be huge. But Caitlyn's not exactly the ADC to capitalize immediately on it. And Nami's got just as much pressure with the bubble landing. But Malphite with teleport and Nocturne with his ultimate is going to be huge mid-game. And levels 9, between 6 and 9 are going to be really, really frustrating for Russ is looking for a date. Because if any of them get caught or if the wards are not quite enough, they're going to die and it's going to be very, very quick. Leighton will have a slight disadvantage in lane against Spy Wombat though, as Spy Wombat has taken that ignite. So if he dies in lane, that teleport's completely useless.
Yeah, so Leighton looking like he does want to get that global pressure off though. Pretty typical of a Malphite pick. So once he hits 6, he can teleport down to that bottom lane and change a team fight with Unstoppable Force if he decides to use it in that sense. Or he could just use it to get back to his lane faster. Depends on how he wants to play it out. So a lot of global pressure that can come out from 40 ounce bounce. We got the Nocturne ultimate. And now we have the teleport on Leighton as well.
And at the same time though, Spy Wombat has one of the best clearing heroes in the game. We saw that last game between most disbands NA and Russ is looking for a date. So if Cho'Gath goes ahead and pushes down Malphite's tower, it's going to be a lot that they're going to have to live up to. But again, that'll open up the map, that'll create pressure, and then suddenly it's a whole new ballgame with the wards.
Another interesting thing to point out here is that 40 ounce bounce really likes doing their lane swaps. I don't think we've seen a game in this tournament where they haven't done a lane swap. So Russ has done a really good thing here in terms of their composition. If they decide to go mid, Morgana is pretty decent in terms of those 2v1 lanes, especially against a Thresh. If Thresh tries to land a death sentence, she can time out her Black Shield pretty nicely and kind of avoid it. I think he can still close the distance, but kind of doesn't lock her down. She can still move, but the distance can be closed. Same with Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath has got a lot of sustain. He gets really tanky, and he has a decent amount of wave clear early on. He can hold back those minions so the tower doesn't fall too early. So they've done a good job in what looks like they're preparing just in case a 2v1 lane comes out.
Yeah, and between Cho'Gath and Morgana, it looks like they're really just going to try to turtle and wait for that late game. If they overextend, it's not much in terms of disengage and not much in terms of being able to run away from all of the chasing and catching that they have from 40 ounce bounce. And as we get into this loading screen, we see that in terms of the skin war, it looks like Russ is looking for a date is winning by 1.
Yeah, they got 4 skins in comparison to the 3 on 40 ounce bounce. So skin intimidation factor going over to Russ is looking for a date.
And I gotta point this out, but skin intimidation so far has been 3 for 0. Like every skin intimidating game has been won by a skin intimidating winning team. Looking at these picks right now, though, the level 1 invade will definitely go in the way of 40 ounce bounce because between the Malphite slow, Caitlyn traps, Nocturne fearing possibly, although it would be rare, and Thresh hook, there's just no way that There's just no way that Russ is looking for a date can contest that. And with so much CC and lockdown, it's going to be questionable too whether they can afford to protect their own jungle if they do invade. We see a blue ping coming out from, excuse me, 40 ounce bounce, and they're going to try to go for that blue buff, maybe for a ward or a full on 5v5 level 1 fight. Looking at Russ is looking for a date though. They're comfortable just to ward around their own red, probably assuming that they're going to invade at their red. They're just going to try to defend things, and Nami's going to go for a ward on that blue. Ping's still going out on blue side from 40 ounce bounce. And we see that Big Sean has warded their own blue on the support side for 40 ounce bounce. Grouping now, trying to go for that bottom try invade. Both of these teams just happy to circle for now, so we'll see where they go next. And it looks like they're going to keep going to that river brush. Both teams playing so cautious, expecting that invade. This ward, however, will spot out Big Sean and he goes in. And they see it. They're going to try to counter-engage on this. And it's all going to come down to being able to predict and read after that pink ward just cancels out that blue ward right there. So we see that Kraylol is leading in the front here, which as the highest health base on their team is pretty smart, although he doesn't have the level 1 CC. Knowing that they've been spotted, however, 40 ounce bounce backs off and they go back to their own red. So far, like Russ is looking for a date hasn't been seen.
Sorry, is my mic working? I just want to. Okay, there we go. Yeah, no. So it seems like my mic was glitching out a little bit there. I was trying to talk the whole time, but I guess it wasn't working. So yeah, no, we did see a little bit of aggression coming down from Russ. Did put that pink ward down onto the blue buff, but no, they are going to be backing away from that, and everybody just looking like they're going to head over to their own side of the jungle. Nocturne looking like they're going to be Nocturne looking like he's going to be starting over on his red buff, so probably going to be trying to mimic Kraylol's route and then head over to counter gank top. So we do see a lane swap actually coming out from both teams here, so the bot lane is just moving over to the top lane, so typical lanes just in, not the lane you would expect.
Yeah, and Leighton was starting off on that top, but as soon as he saw that lane swap, he just rushed down bottom. Nocturne, of course, being one of those few...
Rossi actually getting caught out with a death sentence there, taking a decent amount of damage here, and his Forest of Burn is flashed right away at level 1, so a little bit of a misposition coming out from Frosty there. Does get a little bit caught out, and has been forced to burn a summoner.
However, ward has been dropped in river, so if Smoothicris tries to go for that top gank, he's going to be spotted quite soon. Kraylol also running into the same problem with that tri-ward from blue side. Overall, though, these lanes are looking really tight right now. Both teams so cautious, playing so carefully, because one mistake could just end the lane for them.
Yeah, definitely. Caitlyn is pretty notorious, kind of snowball AD carry. Really easy for her to get ahead in the lane, and incredibly easy for her to stay ahead in the lane once she gets that lead. So definitely a bit of a scary lane. We actually see both junglers heading towards the top side area here. Smoothicris coming around the side, but Kraylol knows he's there, and as just be walking into that bush, throwing down a snowball, but Big Sean is on the way. The fear going down onto Kraylol here. The damage coming down, but the death sentence coming around across the side here. Great bubble landing. No, actually gets spell shielded by the looks of it. Frost getting dropped down. Should be a little pill over. Peacemaker will pick up the kill there. And now a little bit of a duel going down. Jeffrey Ham getting stunned against the tower. Plushy Mike trying his best to do a little bit of damage. Jeffrey Ham forced to flash away. Still doing a lot of damage here. Plushy getting dropped down really low, forced to burn barrier because of the minion aggro. We'll be able to pick up a kill there, and Kraylol actually managing to pick up another kill onto Thresh. Peas was around the side, was now managing to pick up the kill onto Kraylol with that ignite. So 2-for-2 trade at the end of all of that.
Yeah, and Dustbringer was so close to wiping out Plushy Mikey, but it just wasn't long enough. And that was a great response from Peas to be able to come back just in time, and Hado following up just as well. So overall, a great trade on both sides, with the team of Russ is looking for a date coming out just slightly on the bottom. First blood going off to the 40 ounce bounce.
Yeah, so only about, right now it's about 300 gold, so not a huge difference, definitely not anything that's too game defining or too snowbally. Mikey did manage to pick up a kill on that Vayne against the Caitlyn, so is managing to pick up a couple extra CS while Caitlyn is on her way back, so will definitely be a little bit of a help towards him. So we'll see if he can kind of snowball this lane a little bit based on the fact that he did manage to get that kill.
And it's really smart right now for Mikey to go back, because even though he got those kills and gold has been distributed, Jeff Ham and Big Sean were the only ones to go back to actually use their gold, which really is what matters in lane. Is not exactly how much gold they have, but how much gold they've used. On the bottom side, Leighton getting pretty low against Spy Wombat. Spy Wombat's putting down a hefty amount of pressure. And if Smoothicris can safely farm his jungle long enough to put down some pressure back, neither of them have wards.
Yeah, I did want to point out Spy Wombat is running an AP Cho'Gath. He's sitting at 51 AP right now. I think he is running AP Pro Level Blues and AP Quint. So yeah, it does have a pretty hefty amount of AP right now for just having a Doran's Ring. So he is looking pretty strong. Both junglers actually heading back up towards this top lane. Smooticus is still only level 3, so no ultimate available for him yet. But there is still a lot of pressure going down here. They really just want to set their AD carries ahead by the look of it. Kralo just gonna head over to that golem, farm something while he waits for some kind of action to go down, and it looks like, yeah, it looks like Smooticus is gonna just walk away from this one.
And it's really interesting to note that the Malphite opted not to use his mana and then teleport back. We see a lot of LCS people teleport on Malphite actually just to get back to lane and get some harass down. Leighton Summoner, however, will be just waiting for an action to break down, as on top side we see the jungler is still floating around.
Yeah, they're just kind of hanging out. Nothing too crazy. A little bit of aggression going down here now. Jeffrey Ham in a little bit of trouble, taking a couple of silver bolts here. Gonna drop down really low. Does manage to use the 90 caliber net. The shield goes down from the lantern. They are trying to get a little bit of aggression. Dustbringer coming out from the side just to make Nocturne's presence aware, and they do back away from this one. Jeffrey did take a little bit of damage. Might get a little bit zoned for a little while. I think Kralo might be hanging around here for a little while to help them push down that tower, but again, Smooticus is coming out from behind now. Still level 3 though, so nothing too crazy coming out. He can't really do a whole lot. There is no ward in the bush he's hanging out in, but okay, now there is. So now they know he's there. It is pink warded. That ward will be dropped away though.
Yeah, and the minimum distance that a jungler can go before getting spotted is just about the top brush. So the minions were a little past that, and he definitely was spotted. Just trying to ease off some of the pressure that Kralo.
Oh, sorry. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Feast actually going down against Leighton underneath the tower, and he does manage to pick up the kill just outside of tower range, actually. So Spy Wombat able to pick up a kill against Leighton and get a free Feast stack off of that as well.
And yeah, you know, it's so snowbally for bruisers to go against each other. At this point, if Smooticus doesn't answer to this by Spy Wombat's just going to keep pushing and then keep pushing Malphite out of the lane, and eventually Leighton's not going to be able to do anything about it.
Yeah, so Leighton is in a little bit of a tricky situation, though. He actually has opted to go for a Negatron Cloak first, so he will be going for that MR instead. Not going to have any health at the moment just yet either. Probably will be building that into a Spectral's Cal, so a little bit of MR and health at that time. But for now, yeah, this definitely I don't think was a lane that he was expecting to come out, right? You typically kind of pick Malphite into a really heavy AD team, or if you're looking for the initiation comp. So, but they do have a double AP team coming out. Russ is looking for a day doesn't have that double AP comp at the moment, so not really the lane he was probably expecting to be facing.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, if he had probably gotten some earlier mana regen and spent all of his mana, he might have been able to clear out fast enough and put some damage on Spy Wombat, but he just sort of sat on his mana and didn't use the teleport. And with that, he doesn't quite take advantage of all of his summoners. We see a lane swap coming down because, as mentioned before, he's not going to be able to do much in this lane. Spy Wombat, however, he'll be more than happy to farm at tower. He's one of the few characters that can adequately clear it fast enough for those teams to get through.
Yeah, he definitely will be able to hold that tower on for his own. There will be a lot of pressure going out from the top and bottom for either team here, so probably going to be trying to rush to get that tower. Actually, Neil, Plushy, Mikey, and Frosty looking like they're going to head back. I think they're going to actually be going back for another lane swap, so that's why Wombat might just be heading back over to the top lane here and continue his lane against Malphite, Leighton.
Yeah, and Morgana has picked up blue, with blue going to Peas right now, just in time. Although it's really interesting that Kralo and Nunu, with such a heavy and strong counter jungler, with the rise of 3.8 and then the following nerfs, hasn't opted for any wards or a counter invade. He's just kind of sitting on his camps and farming right now. No major ganks, no major invades, no flashy plays, just very, very solid jungling.
So Plushy, Mikey, and Frosty actually did get back to that top lane, so doesn't look like they are going back for
Dark Binding
another
letting
lane
mid.
swap. Yeah, Dark Binding laying down here, and no, it looks like they're just trying to get a little bit of counter aggression here. Peas does manage to walk away from that safely. Dark Binding is only level 2 at the point, so still not the strongest snare. It does get a little bit longer after time, but Smooticus actually getting down over towards this mid lane, does get binded, and then the Shockwave just barely missing down onto Hadu, so that was an ultimate being burnt for Peas there. Smooticus still not 6 though, so really can't do more of those surprise engagements, so yeah, there's an ultimate burn for Peas now, and Hadu, if playing properly, will be able to have a little bit more free reign over this lane for a little while.
Yeah, that was a heartbreaking shockwave. Unfortunately, it didn't break Morgana. Both of those ganks just not coming out quite enough, and Smooticus hitting 6 will be able to jump on somebody. He's going to look for that bot lane, and they're getting hungry. All 4 members coming down right now.
And we got a lot of movement going down here. Doesn't look like either team
Yes.
really is interested in Dragon just yet. So yeah, it looked like they did get spotted out by a ward, I think, heading down there. So I think they just went in for a counter gank. But everybody heading back safely to where they belong, and games just kind of resume normally. So
Both teams
we do
just
actually
not
see
wanting to throw
Plushy,
this finals.
yeah, Plushy and Frosty actually doing a decent amount of aggression. Actually, the paranoia being used down onto the bottom lane here. Spy Wombat getting dropped down really low. There is a 3v1 situation here, so Spy Wombat will fall down eventually. The box was also used to lock him down into place, and they're going to be heading straight over for this tower. Looks like Kralo is going to be on his way there just to try and hold it off as long as he can. It is relatively full, but the armor bonus that came in with patch 3.10 is no longer effective on it. So yeah, they are doing a huge amount of damage over to it. He's going to be trying to get as much damage as he can. Yeah, using that absolute zero just to get that wave clear. It looks like Flash was actually just burnt there, was it? Yeah, no. No, it wasn't.
No,
Okay, no,
not
I thought no, it was actually. No, Smoothicris used Flash right there just to get out of that. And now meanwhile, on the bottom lane actually, yeah, Lane get dropped down really low, granting a great unstoppable force. Now flashing back over to his turret. Plushy Mikey will drop down to the turret. Yeah, does use that barrier, does plop down to the turret. He actually picks up a double kill because it looks like a little bit of miscommunication. They didn't manage to tank that tower aggro properly.
Oh my, I'm
And
surprised we
they-
haven't seen Leighton type out Worth in all chat yet.
Yeah,
That was quite a dive, and unfortunately the barrier just wasn't enough to take that third tower shot, doing a bonus, I believe, 275 damage on the third shot. It just completely melted Vayne, and oh man, Malphite with no offensive summoners. That's the thing. He took teleport. He didn't take exhaust. He didn't take ignite. He got a double kill on two people going for his turret. That's some amazing play right there. Both towers still not down yet, even with the 2v1 lane swaps.
Yeah, he did a really good job there. Mostly, I think it was just like he did a good job in terms of fighting off Plushy Mikey there. He did a great unstoppable force that made her take quite a fair bit of damage and did mess up their dive just a little bit. But overall, I think it was more of a miscommunication that came out from Plushy Mikey and Frosty there. Oh, actually, sorry, missing that gank down onto mid lane. Soul Shackles was dropping down and did manage to pick up the kill onto Orianna. Shockwave was also used, so you can see how do getting dropped down to just about half health. Kralo was there to get a little bit of support off, but yeah, so free kill going down onto the mid lane for Haru. But
Hey,
back
if-
to the little top lane gank. So yeah, it was just like a little bit of miscommunication. Frosty didn't tank the tower aggros at the right time, and it ended up in both of them ending up dying.
If Morgana lands a Soul Shackles on Thresh, what happens? Does he like not collect souls, or does he just like sit there?
Very clever, very clever. I'm actually excited for Lucian's release because he has a lot of interactions with these Shadow Isles champions, including Thresh. And since Thresh is most notoriously seen in the bottom lane, and Lucian's gonna be AD carry, he does have special interactions with him. So that's gonna be interesting to see. So
Yeah,
we
I
actually
mean-
see Kralo hanging around the side here. Spy Wombat taking a fair bit of damage, but no, it looks like no crazy aggression going down just yet.
Yeah, Thresh. I think the lore goes that took Lucian's wife. So Hydro Kids. Oh, Leighton getting engaged on top again. He's holding
Just
that
a-
tower really well.
Yeah, it's gonna drop down pretty low here. Leighton trying to get in to get some harass. He does got a decent amount of wave clear with that ground slam, so yeah, we'll be able to clear that out and keep his tower alive for just a little bit longer. There are no towers just yet. Nunu was able to hold down that bottom tower for a little while, so yeah, still getting a lot of pressure down here. Plushy Mikey really looking like he wants that tower down, and he wants it down now. So
But it
they're
looks
pushing
like,
down fast.
40 ounce
But there's a
bounce is gonna
dragon
go for
aggression going
dragon.
down. Yeah, they're going down for dragon here over at 40 ounce bounce. Kralo hanging around the side here, trying to get in as close as he can, but P's doing a really good job zoning out. Gets hit with the dark binding though, taking a lot of damage. Kralo actually getting hit with the death sentence. He flashes and steals the dragon, drop it down absolute zero. The entire enemy team is trapped inside it. The Stars goes up, Feast going down. P is getting dropped really low. So that Shockwave coming down to Spy Wombat. P is trying his best to run away, doesn't quite have flash yet. Wombat trying his best to get in closer. Great rupture landing on the Spoonicus, but he will also die. Now that was three for one exchange going down in favor of RDX, but they did manage to pick up the top lane tower, and now they're getting a lot of aggression down onto this bottom one. Teleport was used from the Malphite to try and get into that fight, and it did end up working for them, but now it looks like they're going to end up losing 2 towers for that, and they lost Dragon as well. So relatively even trade in terms of the overall gold value.
I'm actually going to call that over to Russ is looking for a date because
Actually, yeah, you are. Yeah, no.
Nunu with that consume and smite. It's so dangerous to take Dragon without him dead or at least extremely far away. And we saw him even flash for that. Although Spy Wombat at the end there losing a little bit of focus. If he had picked up another kill or two, it might have been worth. But Frosty and his ADC Plushy Mikey just happy to take those 2 towers in return for that Dragon. They really got it all there for the 3 deaths.
Yeah, they definitely made it a little bit more worth it for their situation, and they did end up coming out on top on gold after all of that trade. First tower going down for 40-ounce bounce into its bottom lane now, though, so they're at least trying their best to keep up in towers now. So looks like the team's looking to kind of group up here as soon as they can and start their team fights.
And we see that we've hit the 15-minute mark, and this is what we mentioned between the teleport from Malphite and the ultimate from Nocturne, really seeking to make those picks. And the game is going to rely entirely on whether or not Russ is looking for a date, gets caught out by wards or not. If they're happy to farm and tank it through and no turrets go down, they come out with a huge advantage because they have so much counter engage. But if they get those picks off, and if 40-ounce bounce gets those kills, it's going to snowball pretty hard.
Yeah, P is doing a good job putting down a lot of aggression onto this mid lane, using that command attack with dissonance and just rapidly doing lots of burst damage, just kind of just dashing it all throughout that lane and doing a good job. The 40-ounce bounce is grouping up around this mid turret here. Looks like they're trying to zone away Morgana, taking a lot of damage from these dissonances though. Spy Wombat is hanging around his side, but the ball will zone him out. Ace in the hole going down onto Frosty. He will tank that damage out, and they're just putting a lot of aggression down onto this mid tower. But meanwhile on the bottom, Plushy Mikey pushing down that bottom tower with no response coming out. So if they could do a good, if Russ is looking for a, they can hold down this tower, definitely be more worth it in their situation. They're trying to get an engagement going down. Death Sentence just barely missing. Dark Binding landing onto Leighton. Kralo actually using Absolute Zero to keep the minions away. Trying their best to do their engagement now, actually just missing the Rupture. Engagement going down. Tidal Wave going across. Kralo getting dropped down very low now. Leighton still taking tower damage. Double kill going down for Peas now. Now Spy Wombat in a little bit of trouble. Dropping down as well. So they do manage to pick up 3 kills for nothing there. But at least Plushy Mikey managed to pick up that bottom tower.
This, my friend, is the league of boats and throws. They knew that Vayne was at the bottom, they knew that they couldn't engage, they had the wave clear, but they went in anyways, and we saw Leighton landed his ult, Nocturne didn't even blow his. Caitlyn had used hers earlier, Death Sentence went down, and they actually left tower aggro to chase them 4v5. Very interesting decision by Russ is looking for a date.
Yeah, so they do end up actually evening out the tower score because of that decision. Plushy Mikey now just heading back over to the mid lane, but 40-ounce bounce retreating back over to their own side now. Everybody's just going to farm it back up now. But yeah, definitely maybe not the best call coming out from Russ is looking for a date. Plushy Mikey wasn't there to be able to help out with that engagement, and 40-ounce bounce knew that. They knew that they could turn around that fight if they got engaged upon, and they did, and they managed to make it more worth it for their situation. They managed to get 3 more kills in exchange for 1 tower. They got 2 towers on top of that as well.
And it's really interesting, I'm going to point it out that Big Sean had warded around the mid lane and not actually in the mid lane. Most supports aim to try to find that path right there, but he's put wards in positions that see all around it while invading the jungle, which is very smart of him using his Sightstone.
Yeah, we do see a lot of aggression coming down from Plushy onto this mid lane here. Peas does have a huge amount of wave clear here. Plushy Mikey actually eating an ace in the hole to the face, so does take a little bit of damage as well as the command attack onto him. So gonna be backing away from that. The wave clear is a little bit too strong for them to deal with. Won't be able to quite get that tower just yet.
And Russ is looking for a date has just power spiked really hard. Vayne has picked up her Bork, Cho'Gath has picked up Rod of Ages, and Morgana, most importantly, has picked up Zanya's. So they'll be able to team fight and counter engage much more efficiently than they were previously now.
Yeah, that Zanya's going to be huge in those team fights. Morgana will just be able to run into the middle of that. Just if she can get into a really strong position, pick off 5. Actually, Jeffrey Ham looking like he might be getting into a little bit of trouble here. Ice Ball going down, getting a little bit caught up, but now the rest of the team is here to try and assist out. Command Shield going down. Kralo actually now in a little bit of bad position, dropping out at Absolute Zero, but gets feared out of it. Tidal Wave going across. Smoother Chris trying to get his best. Now Paranoia dropping down, but looks like they're just using that for a disengagement. Yeah, it doesn't look like they're going to be fighting. Ultimate dropping down from Plushy Mikey, so Final Hour is now also being popped. So a couple ultimates being popped here and there. No real answer for it, though.
And yeah, Russ is looking for a date, can definitely try to push in now. We see a teleport from Leighton coming in around the back. He does have his ultimate, so if he lands at 3 or 4 man, it could turn around very drastically right now.
Trying to come around the side. Actually dodges the bubble, runs right onto Kralo. Manages to get a good engagement on. The shield is coming out. Knockdown coming down. Here comes the Soul Shackles with the Zon. Spooderker's going to take down a lot of damage here. Jeffrey Ham taking huge damage. Barrier being popped. Double kill. Down. Dariana coming around the side. Triple kill coming down here. Huge amounts of aggression coming down. Leighton getting hit by the bubble. Trying to retreat back to his own tower. Don't know if they're going to go for the great binding landing. He has nowhere to run. He's going to drop down. He will take a lot of damage. Ace in the hole going down into Haji. That was a quadra kill, and they don't manage to pick up the penta. Looks like Jeffrey will be walking away, so no penta kill just yet in this game. I'm hoping, though.
Oh man, the unofficial quadra going down for Hado. Such a good mid laner play. Although he Zhonya's a bit early and everybody had used their flashes or their escapes to get out of there, it spread their team out so much that the rest of his team really just needed to pick them off one by one. And we saw he pick up so many kills with that Dark Binding, excellently landed. One of the slowest skill shots in the game, still serving him really well. That blue buff is going to go onto him now, donated by Spy Wombat. And he's going to be happy to go back and spend his ridiculous amount of 2,000 gold that he picked up from that fight.
Yeah, so that was a really good fight that came out for them there. Quadra kill being picked up onto Morgana, so this is going to have a decent amount of gold to pick up. Looks like he's going to be going for that Abyssal Scepter, so does have the Negatron and the Blasting Wand. So, yeah, does get pretty rich, but now it looks like 40-ounce bounce are going to be able to pick up this Dragon. Uncontested. They don't really have much vision on it, so yeah, they're going to be able to pick up a free Dragon here.
This is a perfect opportunity for them, and they picked it up really well because dying is basically like a free back, right? You press B and it's 8 seconds, but dying is like instant. You can just go back to your face. So knowing that the enemy team had to heal, they just swept straight into Dragon. They didn't bother pinking it. They didn't do anything, although Big Sean does have an Oracles. They took it instantly and very cleanly. Very well played.
Yeah, really good fight. Definitely what Russ was
Flushy
looking for.
Mikey getting the
Mikey
pick
going
off
into
and
Big Sean. Manages to pick up a pick right into their jungle there. Looks like Big Sean just wanted to get some wards down, but ended up paying the price. Ace in the hole did go down, but not doing a whole lot of damage just yet. Caitlyn actually only has a BF Sword, a pickaxe, and a Zeal, so not a tremendous amount of damage coming down. Meanwhile, on the mid lane, Hadu and Krail managed to pick up another tower, so Tower lead going back in towards their favor. About 2k gold, just under a 2k gold lead, sorry, coming out so far for Russ.
And this is a trying time for most teams when towers have gone down and map vision is at a low. It's really up to the better teams to decide. Do they want to roam? Do they want to look for ganks? Do they invade? And some of this intention is actually betrayed by the ward placements. We see that even though Big Sean died, he placed a lot of crucial wards deep into the enemy jungle. While at the same time, Russ is looking for a team that's placed almost completely defensive wards, watching for that invade, watching for them to come in. So it's obviously clear who has the control of the game right now, and both teams are just trying to find an opportunity to insert an opening.
Yeah, the gold lead is still really close, so Russ definitely is more in the driver's seat position at this point, but because the gold lead is so close, it's not even a defining thing in team fights per se. If one team fight goes, like, it's just so close that it doesn't...
Definitely.
It's hard to say which is going to, like, it's still anybody's game. And it's so hard to even lean towards one side by this point. Both teams are playing this match exceptionally well. And it's just hard to say where this is going to go. They both have really strong team fighting mechanics.
And they're both really comfortable with just splitting experience between 3 or 4 of them all at once, because the safety of being in a group is just so necessary at this stage. They're going to be looking for this pick. Baron Ward will spot out Leighton, and both teams are converging to move. No wards inside of the jungle of 40-ounce bounce, and it looks like they're going to back off and go back to farming jungle.
Yeah, just everybody going to be playing this one relatively safe. Nobody really wants to force anything too crazy by the looks of it. Not even any crazy amount of pushing going down either. Just kind of staying towards their own side of the map and playing this safe. P's just using that ball to scout out. Looks like they're going to be heading in towards this red side here. There is no ward on that red, so Plushy Mikey does manage to pick up that red, and they drop down a pink ward inside of that banana bush right behind red, so yeah, they're just going to go grab that ward real quick and keep their vision on their side.
Yeah, and overall, it looks like Peas has some balls right now, and I'm not just saying that because she's Orianna. She's alone inside their jungle with 3 other enemy people. She's going to walk out, sort of taunting them with her presence. Then again, they have no idea where the rest of the team is. They have a ward spotting out Smoothacris on that Wraiths, but he's more than able to jump instantly into the fight with his ultimate. Paranoia, obviously, with a very large range at level 2. It's covering about a third of the map at once if he jumps.
Yeah, they are actually putting down a lot of movement towards this. Smoothacris getting hit with a Dark Binding there. I think he was just out of range of the Tormented Soil, so it didn't take a whole lot of damage. But yeah, they are pushing down onto this. Jeffrey Ham is busy pushing down bottom lane, so if they do want to go in for an engagement, now would be the time to do it.
And that's a really interesting decision too, because with Nocturne's ult and Malphite's teleport, you would have thought that either of those would have been there. But Jeffrey Ham just going to go ahead and pick up that free farm safely, while the rest of the team stays and tries to defend. And with Russ is looking for a Date's team comp, they're really safe and they're really good at counter engaging, but they have no deep dives, no great gap closers, and no sudden big movements to be able to take a team fight off of a tower. And realizing that their only tool is wave clear, they just sort of back off here.
Yeah, and it looks like everybody's still playing it safe. This is kind of one of those. The game is too close to really want to do anything too risky. Even just
Yeah,
like
no.
just going in for a straight up engagement. Like both teams don't want to make a mistake, and in the end, it just kind of ends up being everybody farming out for a really long time.
Such. You know what this game is? This game is an anti-solo queue game. This is the game where nobody throws, where nobody dies and nothing happens, compared to like team deathmatch and like silver or gold or whatever you are,
Oh
right?
my
Watching this
god.
stream. Solo queue is terrifying and unpredictable. And while this is unpredictable as well, it's much less
Yes.
terrifying.
Solo queue is the most horrifying experience of my life. But these guys are definitely coordinating very well. They do know that they shouldn't be in places that they shouldn't be in, and they're not going in those places if they can help it. So, yeah, they are playing this relatively safe. Big Sean putting down a pink ward towards that banana bush here. Both teams just really trying to maintain vision control. Frosty does have
And
that Oracle now, though, so we'll be able to clear out a lot of wards that he manages to walk by. So, still relatively nothing crazy going on. Just, yeah,
it's a
lots
really
of
smart
farming.
buy by, yeah, it's a really smart buy by Frosty too, because he realizes that this entire thing is going to come down to vision, and buying pinks is just going to be inefficient if you can't see where the wards are. And at this point, they have no idea where either team has been for 5-10 minutes, so it's really safe to just ward it up.
Ace in the hole
Jeffrey
being
Ham,
used there, Spy Wombat just taking down
yeah,
the damage there. He will be able to regen it up with that passive, so nothing too crazy, but no crazy engagement coming down either. Ace in the hole is a pretty low cooldown, so Jeffrey Ham just kind of free to use that whenever he chooses to.
Jeffrey Ham just wanting anything to happen, he just drops us all, as if saying, do it, come on, let's get this going. We're not going to farm for 40 minutes, and of course, Russ is looking for a date, wants to farm for 40 minutes. If Vayne gets there and Cho'Gath becomes an unstoppable life tank, there's not much that can prevent them from just slowly steamrolling into the base, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Vayne is just that late game hyper carry, and at some point, when she gets enough items, we'll pretty much be able to three-shot almost anybody on that team. There isn't a huge amount of armor. Actually, there is pretty much no armor coming out for anybody on 40-ounce bounce. So, Plushy Mikey gonna have pretty much free reign. There's no attack speed reductions or anything crazy like that. They are getting spotted out in that bush, though. Dark Binding just barely missing. So, yeah, just a little bit more dancing around this mid lane and
Just teasing each other.
happening still. Yeah, just kind of teasing, trying to get a little bit of poke off here and there. P's doing his best to get a good position
Tickling.
onto that ball, but nothing.
Peas. Peas. Peas with the balls. I swear, he's gonna do that, and then sometime, either Spy Wombat or Frosty, they're just gonna flash and land their CC, and then this entire thing's just gonna explode instantly. Malphite going top. Now we see Malphite with the teleport, split pushing instantly right now. That ward, or the wave is quite large at top, and he'll be quite fine just using his ground slam to clear out that wave.
Yeah, so is sitting up there split pushing. They did have a couple wards that were in the mid lane for him to teleport to in case an engagement happened, but both teams have oracles, so this kind of like a ward clearing session going on by this point. They are actually moving over towards this Baron. Big Sean and Layden inside of that Baron pit, just checking for any wards. There is no vision inside there though, so yeah, just going back to farming.
Those reactions were so instant, though. If you saw Russ is looking for a date, saw a dragon come up, and they wanted to try to contest that. But with the wards, 40 ounce bounce saw that, and they immediately moved to Baron. And with that kind of pressure on the map, Russ is looking for a date, couldn't do anything, right? If they went for a dragon, they might lose Baron. But if they go for Baron, they might lose dragon. So it was a very mind gamey session, and great coordination by all five of both teams. Nobody getting caught. Nobody overextending or rushing too far into a brush. Morgana obviously brush checked with her Dark Binding, but nothing happened there.
Yeah, both teams don't really want to force an engagement by this point. If one team goes for Baron and they end up taking too much damage, or just one missed skill could literally just be the end of this game. Because it's getting to that point in the game where one team fight can just change the momentum and just swing it forward for the rest of the game. Vayne managing now to pick up that really a Phantom Dancer. Looks like she's gonna be working towards that Last Whisper now, so gonna be doing a whole lot of damage.
Yeah, either
pretty soon
Last
here.
Whisper or an Infinity Edge, actually. It's unclear because she only has the pickaxe.
Yeah, so it looks like 40-ounce bounce going to be heading over towards this dragon. This will be their this will be their second dragon of the game. One of them was stolen. I do believe that's the correct number. I could be wrong, but yeah, they will be able to pick up
rotated to
another
Baron
dragon.
instantly.
Yeah, so now, yeah, Russ is actually heading over to Baron. There is no vision directly on the Baron pit, but they do know they're there because they did walk by that ward. Frosty actually just walked by that ward, not really paying attention to it. A little bit zoned out here. Leighton hanging around the side here. Unstoppable Force going in. Kralo getting dropped down really low. Tidal Wave going down across. Flushing Mikey turning on his ultimate. Unstoppable Force going down across here. Noonie does manage to pick up the Baron. Leighton now trying his best to get onto Flushing Mikey there. How to force it to flash away here. Jeffrey is on the sides here trying to do as much damage as he can. Mikey does manage to pick up the tail onto Leighton, but now Jeffrey is in a little bit of a bad position. Doesn't really have anywhere to run. Looks like he's just going to run into the Fog of War and back away. But it did manage to pick up 4 kills off that. Vayne was left untouched. Literally the only person anywhere near her was Mikey. Or not Mikey, sorry, Leighton. But Leighton used Unstoppable Force already, and there's nothing more he can do past that. He doesn't have any damage items, he's just going straight tank. Nobody jumped onto Vayne. Caitlyn isn't a huge damage threat in comparison to Vayne, so Russ is more than happy to just ignore Caitlyn and just completely peel off for Plushy Mikey.
Yeah, and again, even though Hado landed the ult, everybody had to rush to get away. She actually only got the stun off on, I think, Big Sean and Peas. Everybody else just immediately scrammed, and the amazing pressure that Spy Wombat and Kraylaw and Smite hold, it's at least 2,000 damage worth of pure damage straight on that Baron. There was really no way that they could have stole that, even with the early Smite by Kraylaw. We see that was basically everything that they wanted. They got the farm, they got the kills, they got the Baron, and with the extra damage from Baron, they were able to take that fight so cleanly that, like you mentioned, Plushy didn't even die. Plushy was close to Plushy, yes, but nobody could reach Mikey. Oh, it's fine, you're fine.
Yeah, no, Plushy Mikey had just, he played that team fight just really smart. A lot of AD carries want to just kind of jump in there and just because they realize that they typically are like 90% of their team's damage, but Plushy Mikey played that really smart. He knew that if he tried to get anywhere near the enemy team, they would blow him up, they would switch focus, and they would just destroy him. But everybody else kind of got spread apart by soul shackles, and the entire enemy team of 48 Bounce House had to just split. None of them were really together. They just lost their positioning because of a really good soul shackles, and it ended up winning the fight for Russ is looking for a date.
And yeah, testament to this being an anti-solo queue game. Jeffrey Ham was the last one alive, and very
Flash
easily...
coming up for Plushy Mikey, actually going straight on to pass here. Command Shockwave doesn't even actually finish the cast because Peas just died. Like instantly, he just melted. Plushy Mikey is a beast right now. He actually decided to go for a Zephyr, so he's got ridiculous amounts of attack speed. He has that tenacity now. He's just an absolute monster by this point.
Yeah, and Heartseeker Vayne going straight for the jugular there. I was mentioning earlier. I was mentioning earlier that this is an anti-solo queue game when Jeffrey Ham was the last one alive, but
Kralo actually jumping down to absolute zero with the tidal wave here. Paranoia going down, actually jumping straight onto Plushy Mikey. Does use that barrier though, and the Dark Shield coming down here. Leighton in a little bit of trouble now, getting caught out. Soul Shackle's dropping down, holding down to a lot of people, forcing everybody to spread out. Spooderkiss going to drop down very low. Now Leighton in a little bit of trouble here. Kalena will drop down to Leighton, but Leighton now actually getting dropped down. Jeffrey Ham has too much health to actually be of any use at this point. Big Sean now dropping down, and they're fixing their eyes towards the Nexus turrets.
They're looking to finish. If they will be able to do it with Baron, it'll be an accomplishment. P's just coming alive from the early death. Jeffrey Ham kiting so well. Shockwave going down. They're going to jump on a Spy Wombat. They're going to defend successfully with this.
Yeah, they do manage to pick up an ace, so game not quite over yet, but still looking really good for, I don't know, Russ is looking for a date. They're going to be trying to push this up, but Super Minions are already pushing down the lane. Jeffrey Ham is actually starting to do quite a fair bit of damage. Now has managed to finish off that last Whisper. He just bought that as just the last minute to help defend. And Peas came up at the last moment too, landing a great shockwave over onto Plushy Mikey. So they were able to hold off on the base just for a little bit longer. They are pushing down the middle wave here, but everybody's going to be up before anything too crazy can happen.
And that was a perfect engagement by Jeffrey and Peas because if you'll notice, Jeffrey actually jumped to the side with the 90 caliber net, I'm sorry. And if he had jumped back, he wouldn't have been able to get the auto attacks off that killed all 3 of them. Peas landed the ult, but the follow-up damage was there for it.
Yeah, definitely. Jeffrey is actually starting to become a little bit scary now. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, he's getting a little bit scary now. He does have an Infinity Edge and a Phantom Dancer. and a Last Whisper. So he does a huge amount of DPS now. Now he can actually take down the front line now that he has that Last Whisper. So the tanks do have to be a little bit more careful in terms of how they deal with Jeffrey. But they are getting some attack speed slows now. Nunu almost done with that Frozen Heart. He has the Glacial and he has the Warden, so he is pretty close. But on the same time, looks like Cho'Gath is going for the exact same thing. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Frozen Heart doesn't stack, right?
No, Frozen Heart doesn't stack on multiple people, but it does extend the area that it does work in, and with their team comp, that works quite well.
No, actually, a lot of aggression going down. Big Sean actually getting hit down by a binding and just melting. Plushy Mikey is just doing insane amounts of damage right now. It is ridiculous. Now they're pushing down the mid lane once again. Leighton is a little bit out of position here. It's going to take him a little while to group up back with his team. And they are actually rotating towards that bottom lane. Looks like their next focus is going to be that bottom inhibitor tower.
Yeah, and we see the ping going out for top tower from blue, and they're going to try to desperately defend that tower and the inhibitor. If they will be able to do it while defending mid, though, is another question. And yeah, Russ is looking for Data, just pushing in uncontested on that tower. Spy Wombat even going to tank the tower for 5 or 6 hits.
Yeah, he's taking a lot of damage there. Ace in a hole dropping down. He will just tank off that damage. They didn't quite get that tower down, though, but they ended up taking a lot of damage. Hadu hanging around the side, trying to get a pick off with that Dark Binding. Look like they're just going to try and force an initiation here. So, yeah, no, they're going to be able to take down that tower. Plushy Mikey just taking a couple tower shots. And now they're moving in. Kralo actually going right into the thick of it. Command Shockwave doing a lot of damage. Frosty getting caught out. And Plushy Mikey just getting jumped on by the entire enemy team here. But he's doing a great job trying to kite around the back here. Soul Shackle is being used as well. Spinnaker is getting dropped down very low. Plushy Mikey, all the DPS from the back line. Nobody can get near him. Jeffrey Ham has nowhere to really go now. Trucks your Lantern. No, he actually uses a 90 caliber net. Doesn't use the Lantern. And now the inhibitor is going to be dropping down. Super minions are pushing into the base at the moment. Plushy Mikey looking like he's trying to get a pick off onto Jeffrey here. Doesn't quite manage to get it here, but no, now they're hooking their eyes towards the second Nexus turret. They're going to try to drop it down. Jeffrey, I'm actually getting caught out by a Dark Binding. Lots of damage, plus the knockup, but he gets stunned. Actually, the Lantern doesn't work. He gets caught out and he can't finish it off, and they managed to finish off the second Nexus turret, and they're finishing off the game. Game 1 is going over to Russ is looking for a date in this best of 3
GG gets called.
series.
It is a victory, and a very resounding one at that. They were able to turtle and hold off long enough that Hado's Soul Shackles could wipe out the enemy team, and that was a very clean and well-contested victory.
Yeah, so first game going over to Russ is looking for a date. Extremely well played, but this is not over yet. 40-ounce Bounce still have a chance to win this if they win the next 2 games in a row. It is still anybody who can win the title for this week. So we are going to be going on a quick break, getting the next game started up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.